Hello, greetings, everyone watching on the United States of Africa. I'm extremely angry seeing the video clip from Sierra Leone, whereas we are seeing a Chinese assault a Sierra Leone man in African soil. It shows that the Chinese have completely lost respect for Africans, and they no longer respect the owners of the land. And this will be attributed to a lack of leadership that we are seeing in Africa. We are seeing African leaders hand over our natural resources to Chinese companies that really do not care about the interests of Africans. And we need to wake up and realize that Africa belongs to Africans, and send a very strong message to the Chinese who are working in construction companies and in mining projects in Africa, that we own Africa, and we deserve the right to be respected. It doesn't matter that the Chinese are from a different ethnic group. They have to respect us in our own land. And we have seen this in many other countries, even in Zimbabwe. There was a Chinese boss who wanted to shoot Zimbabwean workers, mining workers, just because they demanded for fair pay. And this kind of nonsense needs to come to an end. The young people of Africa should not allow this to happen. I just pity the young man who was saying the Chinese man is on record. And I wonder what kind of record was that, because the Chinese man was threatening the existence of the African man in Sierra Leone. But these Africans actually were more scared to lose their jobs than to save the life of the Chinese man who was being threatened by his Chinese boss. And we need to see a completely new Africa, which takes ownership of our natural resources, and realizes that without us Africans taking full ownership of our natural resources, we are not going to attain a stage of economic development. And we'll just be seeing the industrial revolution happening in other countries, but it will never get to Africa, because we have lost our natural resources to these foreigners that no longer respect us. I strongly condemn these racist acts against Africans by the Chinese, and call them to order that they begin respecting Africans. It doesn't matter that they are working for Africans. They've been given a lot of contracts. They should never forget that Africa belongs to Africans, whether it's Africans in Africa or Africans in abroad. Our natural resources certainly belong to us, but we need to take an action to own these natural resources, so that we can tell them that we are in charge. After the Berlin Conference and post-colonial Africa, we are seeing more foreigners take charge of our natural resources, and the Africans reduced to be mere laborers in their own land. And this is an issue that we need to address by ensuring that we empower Africans to mine their own resources, to build their own infrastructure, so that we don't have to import Chinese. The same Chinese give us loans. They come and take back the payment, so which means that they make double profit from the loans that we are paying back, and from the contracts that we are giving them, using the money that they loaned us. And this kind of neo-colonial attitude from the Chinese must come to an end. We have seen that unlike the Chinese, Western lenders usually give Africans money, and Africans usually decide, in most cases, they decide who they're going to contract to carry out certain projects. But even the Western lenders are not even better because they have secret arrangements. They seek to control even the political leadership. They want to even infiltrate African cultural systems. When they're giving us foreign aid, they want us to embrace Eurocentric values. And this is something that, as Pan-Africanists, we continue rejecting any conditional foreign aid. Actually, Africa does not need aid, and the only excuse me, and the only way to prove that is by working together and towards self improvement, utilizing the different skills that we have in Africa, so that we can work towards self improvement and even tackle this issue of self hate among Africans, because as long as we keep on hating ourselves and even hating the progress that your brother and sister is making, we are not going to develop. We need to see complete change of attitude. We need to see more Africans supporting each other. When your brother comes and asks you to help, maybe he or she needs some capital to start a small business, you should be the first person to help your brother or your sister, and ensure that our money circulates within ourselves. Let us support African-owned businesses instead of importing these foreign goods made in China. We should be supporting African entrepreneurs so that they can grow and even employ more Africans. But you'll see even in Africa, you'll see African companies preferring to employ foreign employees, and this is just a colonial mindset that we need to get rid of, and appreciate the importance of the African culture. We have to stand for Africa, defend our land, defend our natural resources, and elect leaders that have the interests of Africa at heart. And but if we don't elect the right leaders, then we are going to see these kind of problems happening more and more often. In Kenya, there was a Chinese who insulted the Kenyan president. That shows the level of arrogance that the Chinese have now, because now they control the economy of Africa by giving Africa foreign aid. They even use that to control how different governments in Africa run. And we need to wake up and realize that we are facing enemies from different directions. Some are coming as saviors, but in the real sense, actually, it's another form of neo-colonialism. It continues to impede the progress of Africa by making Africans believe that they cannot even build their own infrastructure. That it will take a Chinese to build our roads. It will take a Chinese to build our houses. It will take a Chinese to build our railways. Yet we have thousands of unemployed African engineers that have graduated in our universities. But these people are jobless because we do not believe in their potential. We do not invest in them. And we need to see more African governments invest in this skilled workforce that we have in Africa, empower them so that they can innovate and create solutions for Africa. Because without investing in our people, we are going to have Africa develop, but at the expense of Africans. It will be the foreigners who will own the development of Africa and actually reap the gains that the African nation holds. With the continental free trade area, we need to see Africans begin to put their interests first, trading amongst ourselves more often, because most of the trade is actually not within Africa, is between Africa and foreign nations, Western nations, China, and many other nations. But Africans actually do not trade within themselves. And this is a nightmare because as long as we don't trade amongst ourselves, then our economies will forever be dependent on external factors. And this is something that we need to lead by example. Let us support African manufacturers, support African dreamers, support African innovators. And now going to the issue of West Papua, Indonesia has conducted another bloody genocide in West Papua, killing a husband and wife, and even 3 more people, and even killing a 5-year-old baby in West Papua. And this is happening after Indonesia branded those who are fighting for self-determination terrorists. The freedom fighters can never be terrorists. And now Indonesia is using this to launch attacks against unarmed civilians. As I'm speaking now, there's actually more than 21,000 Indonesian troops in West Papua. And in spite of this, the United Nations and human rights, the United Nations Secretary General has been silent on this bloody genocide that is happening in West Papua. Since 1963, more than 500,000 indigenous black people in West Papua have been killed by Indonesia. And this genocide is supported by Australia. Actually, Australia funds Indonesian military and even trains this military that is responsible for genocide in West Papua. Yet we are not seeing European nations call Australia to order because they are also benefiting. If you go to United Kingdom, it has been reaping the benefits of the genocide by exploiting West Papuan oil and gas. West Papua is home to the world's largest gold mine. And this is the reason why European nations are very silent. They're usually eloquent when it comes to the issue of human rights in Africa. But because West Papua is one of the richest islands in terms of the gold mine, in terms of the oil and gas, they actually don't care about what's happening. And we need to add our voices. We strongly condemn the systematic genocide ongoing in West Papua. And this is a state-sponsored genocide being carried out by Indonesian military, Indonesian security agents, and under the disguise of war and terror. When actually those which they are calling terrorists, they are human rights activists, they are West Papuan freedom fighters, they are West Papuan National Liberation Army, and these have a right to fight for their independence by all means necessary. And considering they are not even getting any support from the United Nations, they're not getting any support from the African Union, they're not getting any support from these human rights organizations around the world. We are not getting any support from the international media because Indonesia placed a blockade against international media, so which means that getting news from West Papua is very difficult. And also right now they actually put an internet blockade, which means that it's very difficult for Papuans to communicate and to relay news about what is happening. And I can see there's someone joining from West Papua. Sami Papua, you're saying thank you, brothers and sisters from Africa, to be the voice for freedom in West Papua. when African countries were fighting for independence, they supported each other. And this is the kind of solidarity that we want to see in West Papua, so that the indigenous people can be granted the right to self-determination, and Black lives can begin to matter in West Papua. The Indonesia has to be compelled to respect human rights in West Papua, and to acknowledge that the indigenous people in West Papua do not don't need any permission from Indonesia to exist, to determine their affairs, to reclaim the right to self-determination as guaranteed under international law. The International Criminal Court has been very silent on the genocide that happened in West Papua, the genocide that continues to happen every single day. And now I question them why it has taken them this long to discover that there's actually a genocide in West Papua. If not, it means that probably the International Criminal Court is just an institution to bully African leaders. But when it comes to holding accountable other leaders in the Middle East, in Asia, in Europe, in the United States, in Latin America, the International Criminal Court is not eager to hold these leaders in those nations accountable, because they are the same people that created it. The Western countries are the ones that created the International Criminal Court. They fund the International Criminal Court. They're the same people that fund the United Nations. And I guess this is one of the reasons why the United Nations has been sleeping when indigenous people are dying on a single basis. There's no word from the United Nations. The so-called Human Rights Council has been silent. They usually speak, but actually they listen to whatever Indonesia tells them. So if Indonesia tells them there's no genocide, they believe Indonesia, because they don't care about the truth. And the Western media has been a tool to spread propaganda, so as to hide what exactly is happening in West Papua. And this is why United States of Africa has continuously been raising this voice to ensure that the indigenous people's rights to self-determination are respected by Indonesia. And I'm appealing to African countries to hold Indonesia accountable, because many actually are trading with Indonesia, yet is butchering our people day and night. And this genocide has to come to an end. If they are not willing to end it, we have to end it. And thank you very much for everyone who's watching. You can share to spread the awareness. Yes, God bless Africans, and free West Papua. Zim, you're saying this West Papua is not Indonesian, is not Indonesian land. West Papua belongs to the indigenous people in West Papua. And this is something that they've made it very clear. If you look at the West Papuan or Melanesian culture is completely different and distinct. Even the West Papua geographical location is completely distinct from Indonesia, and it's not part of Indonesia geographically, it's not part of Indonesia culturally, and it can never be part of Indonesia. This is why the indigenous people are calling for the right to self-determination, because the autonomy, the so-called autonomy, that do not even guarantee basic human rights to indigenous people in West Papua is expiring this year. And now Indonesia is worried because the indigenous people want their right to self-determination. They want to free themselves from Indonesian colonial yoke. Jimmy is saying free West Papua. Now the comments about the Chinese. Ozil is saying this is a fault of African leaders because they are collecting money from China without knowing that China wanted to invade our continent and farm on it. And will come a time when they'll have a great power in Africa. Africa is at the moment under Chinese domination. And this is very dangerous because we are the masses of the Chinese. And this needs to come to an end. Mary Jo is saying, I feel so sad when I watch that video clip. All dying men are the problems of Africa. Someone is saying China for Chinese and Africa for Africans. This is the mentality that we need to embrace because when you go to China, Africans actually do not determine the affairs of the Chinese people. But when you come to Africa, it's actually opposite. The Chinese determine when roads will be done. They determine when schools will be done. They determine when the African Union building will be completed, because they actually control not only the financing, even the construction until the end. And it shows that we are not in control, and there is need for Africans, for Africa to be for Africans and China for the Chinese. We need to prioritize African development and place Africans at the center of their own development. Without us coming together, it's going to be very difficult. This is the time for Africans to shelve their personal differences, shelve their personal ambitions for the development of Africa. Because without us working together, we are not going to attain the state of economic independence that Africa needs to compel the world to respect Africans. There is need for Africa to come out of age, for Africa to realize significant economic development. And with the economic development, there's economic independence, and there comes self-reliance. By ensuring that we create an education system that reflects the aspirations of the African people, then we'll build the Africa we want. And United States of Africa is the only way that we can create this reality, ensure that we create an African nation that will be respected. We have to also change our attitude, the way we look at each other. When an African has an idea, instead of having Africans support that idea, you find out that some Africans will actually begin trying to do the same thing, and even try to ridicule or undermine that person who has a vision or who has an idea. And this individualism has continued to drag Africans into poverty, because everyone is struggling for himself or for herself, but no one is interested in an initiative that is meant at collective empowerment of the African people. Having this collective mindset will make Africans begin to thrive, and will make Africans realize that without working together, then we are not going anywhere. And this is the right time to unify Africa, regardless different differences that we have. I know that we have more than 3,000 different ethnic groups. instead of seeing the different culture that we have as an obstacle towards our unity, it actually should strengthen our unity and our resolve, so that we celebrate our differences, we celebrate our uniqueness, and tell them that is what Africa is. Africa, there is no Africa without appreciating the role that our culture plays, without appreciating the importance of the African indigenous languages, without appreciating the importance of African customs, African culture. We have to embrace our culture, embrace our heritage, uh, make sure that we are the first ones to visit um, every important historical monument in Africa, so that we don't have foreigners come to narrate the story of Africa. We should be the ones to narrate our story and to tell our story as it is. Once again, I call you to support United States of Africa. You can volunteer, you can support us on Patreon, you can share our streams, you can comment and leave us with suggestions on different issues that you want us to address, so that we can ensure that we cover almost everything that is very important. And there are so many issues that are happening around you. You can send us an email update, so that we can keep you guys updated. I can see there's so many people who are joining. There's someone from West Papua saying, thank you, thank you brothers and sisters from Africa, for West Papua. They are thanking for solidarity. And then we have someone, Tehran, saying, freedom, West Papua. It's time for freedom for West Papua, and independence is the only solution that has proven to work in Africa. The African countries were colonized, but once they attain independence, at least we can see Africans can afford to breathe. They have at least basic human rights, and the same thing must happen in West Papua. They have to be granted the right to self-determination. Abdul is saying Africa must unite and reform our beautiful continent. We must sit and we can't sit and watch Africa to fall by itself. We must unite and make our dreams come true as United States of Africa. Thank you guys for tuning in, and have a good day.